Thiruvettanallur Ayyanar Pallu is a Tamil book. It's been published by Nagarajan and published by Saraswati Mahal Library. Let me read out the introduction of this book. A special introduction was given by T.S. Thirumalai Velu, Professor of English, Government Arts College, Karur, who is a native of Thiruvettanallur and the descendant of Kalinga kone, who founded the village and the Ayyanar deity in the present temple in the 18th century. It is quite rare to find a village in Tamilnadu without an Ayyanar temple. Ayyanar deity has gained so much importance along with the religious culture of Tamilnadu, as the god stands for protecting the village and the village folks from evil spirits and black influences. It is no wonder that Swami Thiruvettai Ayyanar happens to be the presiding deity of Thiruvettanallur, situated about 2 km southeast of Puliyangudi in Sankaran Taluk of Nellai district. The deity was first consecrated by Kalinga kone, who was also the founder of the village. He had built the sanctum sanctorum and the tower above it. Artha Mandapa and Mani Mandapa were added later by the concubine of the Zamindar of Chokkambatti Zamin. The Mani Mandapa is called even today as Dasi Mandapa in order to commemorate her memory. The significance of her service to the Lord is based on a miracle in which Ayyanar saved her from the thieves who tried to rob her of all her valuables when she was going near the temple premises on her way to the palace of Chokkambatti Zamindar. The Lord is also called by other names such as Tirukudapadi, Tiruvetta Potri and Potriyappan. Potriyappan means a venerable sire. There are 21 pandis, kovil pandigal, in the temple. Each pandi is owned by the descendants of Kalinga kone, who are called Koma Ratans or the communes of the divine seat. The respective god of the seat is the household deity of the respective families. Ayyanar or Potriyappan is the chief of the deities. Ayyanar is consulted for all good doings by the people of the village. It is called Uttaravu or divine decree. It is done as a last resort. People are not satisfied with the prosperous period in their horoscopes. They are satisfied only when the Lord gives his permission. Uttaravu is similar to the Greeks' divine oracle. But the Greeks came to know the divine oracle only through the priest, or in other words, the priest in Greeks consulted Apollo and conveyed the oracle to the people. Here, the people consult the Lord directly in the following manner. Tuesdays and Fridays before dawn in the morning and after dusk in the evening are the auspicious days and times for consulting the oracle in the temple. People go there at the prescribed days and times with purity of mind and body and stand before Tirku Sanadi, that is the holy gate in the south, and speak out their grievances before the Lord and wait for his decree, that is order. If a sound made by a kevuli, that is wall lizard, is heard on the left hand side and from the southwesterly direction of the people, it is a good omen. If it is heard minutes after the prayerful request was made by the people, the matter will be very much successful If it takes time, the matter will be successful after a good amount of struggle and caution. If it is heard on the wrong side, it is a bad omen and the matter should be dropped. If the sound is not heard at all, it means that the time is not ripe for the matter and the people may come after some time. In my own personal experience, I find that the oracle thus consulted becomes 100% successful. The temple combines Saivism and Vaishnavism into one, as Ayyanar's birth is behind the legendary story of Bhasmasura. The demon received a powerful boon from Lord Shiva through his severe penance and wanted to destroy Shiva himself with it. Terrified by the demon's act, Lord Shiva asked Lord Vishnu's protection, who destroyed the demon after taking an avatar of Mohini. Shiva was enamored by Mohini and as a result, Ayyanar was born. The story is sung in Villu Pattu in every temple festival and people do Samiyatam, that is a dance in divine trance, with the traditional weapons of their respective deities in front of the Villu Pattu group. While the performance is going on, it is a rare scene to be seen which unites divinity and the folk art into one. Mohini is worshipped in the temple as Patukari, which means the silken clad goddesses or the lady as good and beautiful as silk. Mohini is sublime in beauty. She is placed beside Lord Vishnu, who is called Arasumagan or Arasamman. He holds the regality of the temple and is worshipped with much devotion and piety. Next only to Ayyanar. Perumal, another name of Mahavishnu, is the deity who is doing penance in order to promote the welfare of the people. Lord Shiva too is in a mystic form. He is called Ladasinnu or Tavasinada in this temple. It may be the jinn deity which is worshipped by other religious men, especially by Muslims and Turks. Sangli Buddha Nathan, the pet son of Lord Ayyanar, could be found on the left-hand side circumambulation, Vadakku Praharam of the temple. Lord Muruga in this temple is called Adi Muruga, who does not carry his spear. He is structured in an archetypal form. The manhunter and the maid hunter who guard the main gate of the temple are the royal hunters of Lord Ayyanar. Punga tree is the holy tree of the temple. The temple has two tanks, one for the devotees and another for laymen and animals. Mahasivaratri is the annual temple celebration and this is known as Masi Padaipu. Besides, there are the marathon worship as and when people decide, which is called Kovil Kodai and celebrated for 3 days. The history of the village and the temple speak of the history of the life of Kalinga Kone. He is remembered by the Kalingan tank which he had made and which exists today in between the temple and the village. His statue is found in front of Artha Mandapam of Lord Ayyanar with folded hands. The appearance of the statue in all aspects speaks of his royal position which he had commanded with King Pulidevan of Nelkattum Cheval. King Pulidevan is the first Indian freedom fighter. Besides, from an evidence which is found at the second tier of Sankaran Temple in Sankaran Koil, it is presumed that Kalinga Kone might have helped King Pulidevan in constructing the Gopuram of Sankaran Temple. Kalinga Kone is an emigrant to the present place from Arcad, Tamilnadu, in the earlier part of the 18th century. Though no reliable evidence could be found, authentic information might be available if inscriptions in and around Thiruvettanallur and government archives are analyzed. The fact that Thiruvettanallur was a head village for 18 villages shows clearly the eminence of Kalinga Kone as a feudal lord before and after his migration. However, as folklore, Kalinga Kone's migration is sung in Villupattu in all functions of the temple and of the village, which is a special feature for the people. Before we go briefly into the history of Kalinga Kone, let us peep into the history of Gingee kingdom, it is Senji in Tamil, which has some bearing on it. Senji kingdom was founded by Ananda Kone, a Yadava in the early part of the 13th century. Kalinga Kone's ancestor might have been powerful lords in the court of King Ananda Kone. The Hindu kingdom fell with the fall of King Desing in the 17th century, and Arcot came under the regality of the Nawabs. It is learnt from the Villu song that Kalinga Kone wielded power as a trustworthy vassal and chief of the Yadavas in the court of the Nawabs, and having his headquarters at Ayyanar Pallu, which was at the bank of the Pala river in Arcot. The story in the Villu song further goes on to say that the Nawab's daughter and Kalinga Kone's daughter had altercations over bailing drinking water from the royal well one day, and the Yadava girl accused the Muslims of as meat-eating ruffians. As the princess could not bear the insult, she made a complaint to the Nawab. The Nawab, on his part, wanted Kalinga Kone and his men to be meat eaters. He had arranged a royal function for it. The Yadavas, who resisted this insult, collected their retinue with Kalinga Kone as their head and made an exodus towards the south. Though the fleeing Yadavas were chased by the Nawab army, they were protected by the chastity of Kalinga Kone's wife and the spade in the Pala river. They had reached the present place because they had found that Pandya kingdom was comparatively peaceful and secure from invasions by alien religious rulers. Kalinga Kone and his men reached a place in between the spherical rock and the Shepherdess's rock, which is situated about 1 kilometer northeast of Thiruvettanallur, and camped. Immediately they saw a bright torch flame moving towards them from the north. They thought that it would be the Nawab's army chasing. But one of Kalinga Kone's sons got divine inspiration and assuaged their fear as that it was Lord Muruga of the hoary past, Adi Murugan, who was coming with his torch to protect them from all evils. That day was the last Friday of the Tamil month Aipasi. It is celebrated with offering every year till date. Kalinga Kone was accompanied by his 3 sons, namely Sankaran Kone, Jnani Kone and Periya Kone, and also by 2 sons of his sisters, namely Pandya Kone and Sonaya Kone. Chera, Chola and Pandya deities worshipped in the temple are the brothers-in-law's deities. Kalinga Kone has established a tradition in which brothers-in-law are given the first honor in all festivals in the temple and in the village, next only to Periya Kone. Each of Kalinga Kone's 3 sons were given 3 occasions. The first was given the right to decide upon the professional disputes and look after agriculture works. He was more authoritative and wielded more power than the other 2 brothers and helped to bring peace and amity in the village. The second son, Jnani Kone, was given the job of looking after the rituals, the maintenance and offerings in the temple. He was also acting as the high priest in the temple, till a potter came and offered himself to the Lord. Ever since, the potters' families in the village are doing the offering service to Ayyanar on ordinary days. On special occasions, the Brahmin priests take charge of the rituals. The last son, Periya Kone, was educated and was appointed by Kalinga Kone as the administrative head and charged the affairs of the village. He was given the first honor in all temple festivals and functions in the village by the other 2 elder brothers and brothers-in-law. He presided over village committees during disputes and pronounced his verdict. It was implemented by the other 2 brothers and brothers-in-law. this practice is continued even today. My grandfather was the Periyakon in the last generation. Besides, it was during my grandfather's tenure, that is, in June 1882, that this Pallu was presented in the temple in a forum of learned audience by the poet. The poet is mentioned in the manuscript as Pon Subramanian, while he is remembered as Sivagiri Subramania Desigar by the public of the village. By appointing the youngest son as the head of the village, Kalinga Kone has achieved yet another social order, which is a feat of social stratification. In addition to the decentralization of powers in the village administration, his social strategy was to make the weaker section dominate the stronger ones with regard to authority and possessions. Though many attempts were made in the bygone years to overpower Periyakon in village administration by the vested interest in the elder brothers' families, they proved futile, and the divine pronouncement of Kalinga Kone withstood them all. The founding of the present Ayyanar Temple yet speaks of another story which took place in Kalinga Kone's lifetime. After forming the village conveniently and settling his men comfortably, Kalinga Kone tendered his cows in the nearby dry mountain in the Western Ghats. He used to bring to the village every day from the mountain pots full of milk with his men. A punga tree root which was lying on their way at the place where the present sanctum sanctorum is constructed would knock him down and the milk would spill on the root. That happened for several occasions, and the irate Kalinga Kone started cutting the roots one day. While he was doing it, blood came oozing out from the roots. He got divine inspiration and knew that something must have been hidden under the roots. He dug the ground and found the Ayyanar statue along with his consorts Deviyal and Tirunama Alagi. He consecrated them in the sanctum sanctorum of the temple which we find today, and added other deities and brought the temple to the present shape. The statues unearthed by Kalinga Kone were replaced by the present ones at a later date. The old ones could be found even today under a peepal tree in the southwest boundary of the temple. The temple is being reconstructed now as per Agama Sastras. The temple is maintained by the Hindu Religious Endowment Board of Tamilnadu government. Kalinga Kone in his lifetime laid the village in a proper order and sank many irrigation tanks. The main tank is called Kalingan Tank, which commemorates the memory of the founder of the village and the Ayyanar Temple. The site where the village is now situated had been a forest area once. The zamindars of Chokkambatti and Nelkattum Cheval had been treating Kalinga Kone and his descendants with much respect because of their honesty, integrity and piety. The area around happens to be the border area of the erstwhile Thiruvankur royal power, and there had been places for elephant tendering in the vicinity of the village, which is even today identified as Yanai Kuppam. Old men's urns are found around this village in certain places, which show that the place might have been inhabited by the tribals of earlier ages. The present Arita Vanachiyamman temple, which is worshipped today by the people of Thiruvettanallur, had been worshipped by the people of Kerala in the name of Ammachi Amman. There had been a temple tank to the west of the cremation ground of the village, which was called Mayandi Mugil Teppakulam. It has been reclaimed in course of time and converted into paddy fields of the Kalingan tank. It is said that the Mayandi temple is the present Palavesakaran temple. The people of Thiruvettanallur are mostly agriculturists, except the village artisan and craftsmen. The Yadavas dominate the population. There is one Kshatriya family and many Pulavar families. The Pulavars of Thiruvettanallur need special mention. They are well versed in Tamil literature and ethics. They move from place to place and even country to country and spread Tamil language and culture among people. They call themselves wandering minstrels or Yathirai Vasi. In the last century, Vadakasi Pulavar and Appavu Pulavar were scholars with divine blessings. Appavu Pulavar was an adept in composing extempore and inspired verses. Such a poet could bless or spoil anybody through his poems. Some Pulavars were also magicians. They learned magic and jugglery from Lalgudi Pichai Ayyar alias Annakutti Ayyar. They call their magic Pidambara Jala Viddai because Pichai Ayyar was very reverently called Pidambaradari. In the beginning of this century, Pandya Pulavar was both a magician and Katashta Vidwan. There was one Muthu Karupa Pulavar and Ratanamurti Asari who excelled in dramatic art. Mukaya Asari was proficient in poetic art, especially in Tamil prosody. I owe much to my kinsmen in the village, namely Mr. Chellappa Kone, former stage actor, and Mr. I.R. Ramaya Kone, a divine, who helped me to recover this palm leaf manuscript from Mr. Arasappa Pulavar of Thiruvettanallur. Mr. Chellappa Kone and Mr. Ramaya Kone are the descendants of Kalinga Kone's brothers-in-law. Arasappa Pulavar ancestors were renowned Tamil scholars and his father, Vellayappa Pulavar, was the first wandering minstrel or Yathirai Vasi in the village. It would be ingratitude if I do not thank Pulavar P.V. Nagarajan, a well-known scholar in manuscriptology. He is a multilinguist and an expert in editing Tamil literature. He is having many good publications to his credit already. He is the Adina Vidwan of Siravai Adinam of Coimbatore district and now working at Tamil University, Tanjavur. This Pallu is edited by him with the help of a single palm leaf manuscript. The notes along with the scholarly preface makes this edition very useful not only to the public but also to the research scholars. I thank him wholeheartedly. I thank on behalf of the people of Thiruvettanallur, Thiru M. Sadasivam, Director of Saraswati Mahal, and the staff of the library for bringing out this Prabandham as a Saraswati Mahal edition. T.S. Thirumalai Velu.